with money. Okay, I didn't hit record right now with an idea in mind of what to talk about, except that I wanted to talk about money. Um, I've already tried to record a video or two about this before. I want to wrap my mind around this whole idea of money and in society and needing money to in order to do anything. On an individual level, people need money to exchange for goods and services in society, so they can I give my money to this person or this company in exchange for cell phone service or a loaf of bread or whatever it is. So it's a the money is almost like a measure of my social value, my contribution to society. So like the more money that I have, I would think, the more it should correlate to the amount of importance that my life lends to the betterment of the social group, right? So say if I'm a no, I say I make a certain amount of money per paycheck for being a sewer worker or something. Assuming that my paycheck is fair, then whatever my paycheck is should correlate to the level of importance that my job fills in society. Like say if I just walked away, how much damage would I do just by not being there? And so they pay me instead, and so I keep an eye on those valves or whatever the job is. And so every job has some sort of amount that or for every position that anybody occupies in society, whatever job they do, they get paid equivalent to the level of importance that their job is. So if you're just a clerk selling cinnamon rolls, you're not going to make more than whatever the minimum is. Maybe your boss likes you so that you get a little bit extra, but you're not going to get paid $150,000 a year to sell cinnamon rolls or work at McDonald's, shuffling fries. So there's just no way. So that explains why we get paid what we get paid. But then there are other systems where somebody gets paid because they're in direct control of how much they get paid. So say if you are on the board of directors of a company, or you are the owner of a plumbing business or something like that, you keep every penny that you can for yourself because it's your own business. I'm talking about, say, like if you're a small business, and you employ as many employees as you need, and you pay them as little as you can or are willing to. And you take all the rest. And then there's corporations where it's a little bit more complicated because you have whole boards of people who sort of vote on how much they get paid each year, and that's why they're always watching stocks and how much the overall company itself is worth, because they get paid when their company is getting paid, and so otherwise they don't get paid. But then they decide how much profit off the top they take, and the rest they pour into the company, and so that's where huge bonuses come from. It's because there's less policing of how much somebody's getting paid. 100 people decided how much I get paid. That's why I get paid as little as I do. But when it's only one or two people, or maybe even 10 or 20 people deciding how much each of the 20 people gets paid, they're going to get paid as much as possible because they'll all be friends and they'll all talk to each other and say, hey, dude, come on. If you hook me up with a $5 million vote, I'll give you a $5 million vote, or however they work it out. So that's that. And then on the level of society, when you combine all of these different methods of being paid in a group, a mass group of millions or billions of people, then you get this big mess of people living different lifestyles mixed with different personalities, and then what you have is humanity. Now, my question for anyone listening this far is: money is money itself necessary for humans to get along in society? Period. Do they need money is money necessary for a society to function at all? So, say if you have no money, say we did away with money, all the computers crashed that had any kind of financial records on it, your credit records wiped out, everybody's bank account is blank, nobody has any money, cash is worthless, say it all burns up in some freak accident, so there's no money anymore. How would a society function? Would it just be total chaos, or would we not be able to? Would we not be able to come up with some new system, or some new form of payment, or some just value that we can attach to each person in their capabilities of contributing to society? I think we really need to figure out a way to do that, because the financial system, however well it's working, wherever in the world, it doesn't seem sustainable. It doesn't seem like one of those things that can last forever. It seems kind of like oil, using oil as an energy source. Even if it was clean, even if it did no damage to the environment, which maybe it doesn't. I don't know. I'm not a scientist like that. But say if oil didn't do anything damaging to the environment and we could freely burn it as much as we wanted, it would still eventually run out, right? And that's how I see it with money. It just seems like if if anybody's printing money or creating digits in a computer, then eventually it's going to be so diluted. There's going to be so many digits, so many pieces of paper floating around and little pennies and coins that eventually the very idea of money would be almost meaningless because it would be so dilute. You'd need to spend $10 million just to buy a loaf of bread if you extend it out long enough. So here's the thing. I've talked before. I must be boring my friends to death about this, but I run the thought experiment in my head. What if NASA or the ESA or any space agency? What if they had no concern for money, right? Or any technology firm or any scientific body, anybody who had access to the highest levels of technology and knowledge that there is available on Earth. What if they had no budget to worry about? What if they had a blank check that they could just do whatever they wanted? And as long as it was a well-laid plan, how would that not be a good thing to do? Like, why is that not the case with technology and development right now? I mean, once we learned the scientific method, once we learned how technology advances, how we learn things, you'd think that every world leader's priority would have been to pour all their energy and effort into that field, not trying to get richer, trying to acquire more meaningless property, buy more cars. Forget that. We need to advance our knowledge. We need to know as much as we possibly can about the world. And the more we learn, the more we can learn, right? So if money is stifling that progress, why don't we do away with it? Why don't we get away from this system? And I see it like that because, of course, I'm a person who doesn't have money. I don't have any money, so like my life is like very difficult right now. I make a minimum paycheck. It's not minimum, but it's like minimum for me. Like if I made more, my life would be better. I'm not in a situation where I'm content with the amount of money that I make. So of course I see things like, man, I wish money wasn't a problem for anybody. But really, isn't it that way? Isn't it still reasonable to say that money isn't necessarily something that helps society function? It seems like society miraculously functions despite the existence of money. That's how I see it. I see society just magically moving along, fighting against the current because of all the debt collectors and all the things that really affect the day-to-day average guy. Or at least in the United States. I don't know how it is in every other country with money and debt and credit score and all that stuff, how it stresses you out throughout the day. But it just seems like people magically get through the day, even though they know all of these money problems exist. We all know that we're not all going to be rich one day, right? So we're always, trying to keep from thinking about how we're probably always going to have money problems. Most of us will. Most of us will always have money problems throughout our life. So isn't there somebody out there that has a way that we can get rid of this? I can see it, like, say if we colonized another planet and had to literally start over in some sort of new government, it wouldn't be like when when Britain was trying to rule the United States from a distance, which caused the Revolutionary War. The distance was a factor in the government of a country. So obviously the planet, like say if we colonize the moon or Mars, they're on their own. It's not up to some government agency on Earth managing things there. So they have to come up with some new system. And we couldn't even if we wanted to transfer the current system there. We couldn't bring cash. It's like, yeah, we're going to still use cash and you're going to still be worried about, the stock of AT&T or whatever it is. So you'd have to start completely from scratch. So it would seem that Jacques Fresco's idea of the Venus Project is the best going idea. I haven't heard of a better one. If you check his project out, thevenusproject.com, it's a pretty amazing idea, and it's got some pretty excellent architectural art as well. But really, I just don't see a way around this. It's almost like when we do eventually figure out at least how to colonize another planet, the people that are fortunate enough to be the pioneers who set that up, they're going to eventually look back and go, man, we left those poor people to that. We have it so good here now, you know. They're all those destitute, poor old, World War, World War III vets, they don't have anything. They're mentally unstable, and they're stuck back there on that rock that we left behind for this new paradise. So that's going to be a factor when they end up really talking, or when the idea happens, when the idea is seriously considered moving to another planet or colonizing another planet on a permanent level, where not just putting a little base there and then keeping one or two scientists there on shifts, but actually having civilizations where children are born and everything, and people have pets on another planet. Once even the plan is written down, once it's even seriously discussed making it happen, they're going to have to decide how that society would be, how it would function, how to establish it, how many people to send to start, and how many families, how many children, or whether they should send animals with them like cats and dogs. All of that kind of thing needs to be considered. What kind of food that the inhabitants could eat there. I mean, obviously they would probably have to grow their own, whatever it was. Even if they were eating only pork, they'd still have to raise their own pigs, right? So it would have to be all well planned. And so by planning it out, they're thinking about how much better it could be. So say if we were imagining a way to do it, we could almost just at the same time do it here. All the world leaders get together after it's all worked out, and then they talk about the plan. Hey, we're going to colonize Mars, and this is what we're going to do, and we've worked out all the kinks. Barring any asteroid impact with the ship on the way there, this is going to work. So if all the world leaders hear this plan, if it really is a well-laid plan, they should be behind it 100%, I would think, in order to put it into effect here. Anybody wanting to go to Mars would have to be somebody who was carefully selected for the sake of it being a society that doesn't start with any kind of rabble-rousing or any kind of craziness. That it's any kind of a terrorist can't slip on board, like the guy in the movie Contact, the crazy religious terrorist leader that snuck aboard the big machine and blew it up. That would have to be screened perfectly so that nobody could bring aboard like a virus or something onto a planet and kill everything on it. But I really see that once the idea is written down and figured out how the plan would actually be done, forget the technology of actually doing it, but just like, here's the plan. We get to Mars, and this is what we need to do in order for life to flourish there for us. That would be what we would have to initiate right here on Earth, whatever that plan would be, whether it's to, everybody go green and recycle and drive a Prius or whatever it is that would make the world a paradise, which is apparently what we're always sort of trying to do. We're always aiming to that. It's never quite there, and I'm sure we can never really give up the effort to create a perfect world. But as long as we have discrepant views on what that perfect world would be, we'll never be at peace with each other. We're always going to be arguing, and I think money is driving force in all of that argument. The fact that you need money in order to get anything done, the fact that you have to exchange money between hands in order to even lift a finger and do any work. Nobody's working on any world-changing projects without some financial incentive, except for scientists that are really truly driven by their passion to know and understand. And so if that's adopted as our new philosophy, a new human philosophy, just strive to understand the world better, know more about the world and your place in it, and always strive to be better and make the world a better place. Not just necessarily cleaner, but just make sure that your children grow up and live a happier, more fulfilled life intellectually than you did. And, that all the problems in the world go away if that's just the core of our nature. I don't know. Maybe I'm stretching. Thanks.